What's going on, everyone? It's Ben from YGO from Zero, back with another Retro Yu-Gi-Oh video, and this one's going to be something a little bit special. So if you're not aware, we recently hit 750 subscribers, which is just such an awesome milestone. I mean, 3/4 of the way to 1,000. It's just mind-blowing to me, and I want to thank everyone who subscribed and everyone who watched these videos for their support, and it really means a lot to me. So I figured that in honor of that big milestone, I'd do something a little bit different from my standard content. So I've had people ask me in the past, why don't you show off two of the starter decks like facing against each other, especially in Joey Pegasus. People were asking about starter deck Joey versus starter deck Pegasus. But I figured instead of starting with that, why not go back to the very start and show off what starter deck Yugi versus starter deck Kaiba would be like. I feel like that would be a good throwback. And it would be a lot of fun. Very different from what I normally do, which is generally like trying to make decks the best they can be. Because starter deck Kaiba and starter deck Yugi are pretty bad. But, they're very fun to play with. I mean, they got a lot of iconic anime cards and cards that would never see the light of day in an actual constructed deck. So I decided to just, hop in some games. One of us playing starter deck Yugi, one of us playing starter deck Kaiba. And I thought the games turned out pretty fun. So, I'm just showing starter deck Yugi on screen now here. Just flashing through the cards. I'm not going to go through these individually as, I'm not going to explain why Magical Ghost is in here and what its role in the deck is. It's just sort of interesting to look through them here. And I'm going to show also starter deck Kaiba. I do think that starter deck Yugi is the better of the two decks, because starter deck Kaiba is just kind of like, yes, it does have Lejin, but its bigger like combo is with like Lord of D and Fluid Summoning Dragon and Blue Eyes, all of which are kind of bricks. And I feel like starter deck Yugi does have its own combos with things like Soul Exchange and Summon Skull, but that's generally a better combo than what Kaiba can produce. But I mean, either way, they're on like a pretty similar power level, and it'll be fun to explore them. So let's just dive into some games and show off what these decks can do, and show how those games potentially look against each other. So starting off, I started with starter deck Kaiba because I do like Kaiba better as a character than Yugi, just because Kaiba's a bit more fun and entertaining. So I started out as Kaiba. Aratos, who's a frequent guest on the channel, and it's always a pleasure to have them on. They started with starter deck Yugi. So let's see how these games go. And already we're off to an incredible start. I mean, look at this hand. This is killer. I mean, we got Lord of D, we got Komori Dragon, we got Rude Kaiser. Oh, this is just one of the best hands that I've seen in the game's history. I mean, I feel like we got to put some board presence on field here. I mean, it's kind of bad because most things can run over most of these monsters. We don't want to necessarily use Komori Dragon up yet, as 1500 actually is a good attack stat based on the monsters in this set. So we're just going to actually set this Lord of D, set the Dark Energy, pass back to our opponent. If they don't attack in or over the Lord of D, we can potentially bring out a Rude Kaiser next turn backed up with the Sogen, which would be pretty good. So that's what we're trying to aim for. Our opponent sets 2 and passes it back to us. Oh, and we just draw another banger card, Master and Expert. Oh, I mean, look at the quality of the cards in these sets. It's just crazy. And we are going to go for our Rude Kaiser play. We could have maybe just, summoned a Komori Dragon and then tried to get in that way. That plays a bit into Dark Hole. Both decks do have Dark Hole in them. So that's something that you have to kind of worry about. But, I mean, I figure, like, sticking a big monster on the board wouldn't be that bad, especially when we do have the Sogen here. Also, if their set is something like Wall of Illusion, which starter deck Yugi does have, then this will potentially get over that and also bounce the Kaiser back to hand to dodge removal, which is not terrible. So we'll attack into their set. It's a Stern Mystic. Oh boy, that's big. That's a big, frightening thing, because now they get to see what we're on, and so they know our backer is a bluff now, and we get to see that their backer is Ultimate Offering. That is actually very scary. That card is like insane in this format. Wow, because all they have to do is clear a monster and then get a bunch of monsters on the field, and that might just be game over. So very scary to see that there. Our opponent's just going to set 1, pass back to us. I feel like we can just get aggressive here, and we draw this powerful spell, Ancient Telescope. If you've never seen this card, get to see the top 5 cards of your opponent's deck, and then return the cards to the deck in the same order. Now, I didn't actually type them in the chat here, as then Aratos would be able to see them. But just going off memory, I saw Baron of Feedsword, Reinforcements, Great White. I feel like I saw just some... Oh, Ansat, which is a 1 tribute, 1500 attack monster. And yeah, the other card wasn't anything too interesting. So nothing really that good there. But knowing those kind of helps me play in the future and can sort of play around certain things. So it's good that we get to see that. And then we bring out Komori Dragon here, attack in with the Rude Kaiser. And it's a man-eater bug, so they'll pop that Rude Kaiser. We'll attack in for 1,500. They do have the ultimate offering here. They'll be able to bring out dragons. Oh, wow. That is really bad for us. We don't have a way over that right now. That is disastrous. Oh, I think the last card I saw was Yami. I think I saw Yami off the last card. They're going to bring out a Mystic Clown here, and they will be able to hit in. They'll attack for 15 here, and we will take it. We draw Battle Ox, though, which is pretty great here. We're going to bring out that Battle Ox, attack in to the Dragon Zombie, because if they do have an equip card here to equip to the Dragon Zombie, then that will be the end of our Battle Ox here. So we're just going to hit in like that. They're going to set one, pass back to us, and we do know that that is a reinforcement, or at least we have the strong read, given that, that was the card on top of their deck. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bring out Master and Expert, and I actually make a pretty big misplay here because I forget how much Sogen actually buffs up my monster. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to equip Invigoration to Master and Expert and try and bait out the reinforcements on the Clown. What I should have done is just equipped Invigoration to Battle Ox and hit over the Clown, just so that way they wouldn't have been able to use their reinforcement profitably. But yeah, this is a bit of a misplay on my part, and yeah, we are going to suffer for it. So, or we won't. Okay, our opponent won't fire reinforcements, so we can hit in for 1,900 here, get in a fair amount of damage. It looks like they're not going to ultimate offering, so maybe they don't have cards in hand. I mean, we know about the Baron of Fiend Sword, so I don't know why they wouldn't, but they're going to fire Dark Hole there. They're going to bring out a Magical Ghost. Very scary card, especially when we don't have any monsters in hand. We draw a Flute, which is useless, but really bad. We're going to set that, pass back to our opponent. They're just going to hit him with Magical Ghost. It's Magical Ghost Beast. They're not playing into Dark Hole. Oh, this card's killer. This card's killer. This is just what we need to turn the game around. Inexperienced die, we get to select and see one card in our opponent's hand. I mean, we technically select before they shuffled, but I'm not going to hold it against them. We do see the Yami, which we did know about from the telescope, and we'll pass back to them. They're going to just go for a bunch of monsters here off the ultimate offering. Oh, and that actually will be the end of the game, I think. 3250, 40. Yeah, that's the end of the game. And those are 3 monsters that we did see off the Ancient Telescope. So, I mean, yeah, that's just all she wrote. And kind of unfortunate. Yeah, tough way to end game 1. But I do think that does show like some of the ways in which Yugi's better. I mean, it's got Man-Eater Bug, which is insane. And yeah, there's some other cards that are pretty good here, but it also shows how powerful just a 1,600 or 1,700 beater can be, because frankly we don't have many good monsters in these decks here. So we are going to go into game 2 here. Oh, that Just Desserts could be killer here. Oh, Mysterious Puppeteer. That is a great defender. 1,500. Oh, so good. We're going to set that. They bring out a Claw Reacher. Huh. They think that can stand up to our Mysterious Puppeteer? No way, no how. They're going to set one, pass back to us. And now that Mysterious Puppeteer is face up, we actually will gain the benefit of, gaining life points every time a monster is summoned. So we'll gain that 500, switch the Puppeteer to attack, and then attack in with the Rogue Doll here. And then get in with the Puppeteer as well. Switching into attack does put it a little bit at risk, but the way I figure it, we need to just get in damage. That's what this format's kind of all about here. And so, yeah, or this matchup, I guess not a format, really. They do have the Dark Hole again. That is unfortunate, but they don't have any monster to summon out off of that. So, yeah, we're just going to bring out a Dark Assailant, get in. We don't summon out Titan of Terror because we want them to potentially use up removal on the Dark Assailant, and Titan of Terror does have 100 more attack points. But maybe we should have brought out Titan of Terror instead. We do know the Dark Hole's gone, though, so we can feel fine sort of overspinning the board. We draw Ogre of Black Shadow, which is, 1,200 attack monster. So it's good to have another one of those in reserve. We're just going to get in for 2,500 here, dropping them down quite a bit. So we're getting into the range where Jesters could come up in the future, which will be pretty nice if it does. They're going to bring out a Baron of the Feed Sword, which is always, very unfortunate, especially when they equip it with a Sword of Dark Destruction. So that's kind of rough. They're going to hit in for 650 here, and then they're just going to set one, fire a Yami to buff up that Baron of the Fiend Sword to 2150. Our Dark Assailant unfortunately did not gain a boost because it's a zombie, not a Fiend or Spellcaster, and then they'll pass back to us. Now, we do have Sword Stalker, but this is a Warrior, and this will not gain the buff from Yami. So what we're actually going to do here is, and this feels kind of bad, but we're going to fire this Dark Hole. That will clear the Baron of the Fiend Sword. We can bring out Terror the Terrible and try and attack in for 1400 here, dropping them down to 800, so that way if they do bring out 2 monsters on field, we just win the game with just desserts. Our opponent's going to bring out a man-eating treasure chest, and that is quite unfortunate that we'll be able to get over our Terror the Terrible, and we will take 400 from that. We draw Invigoration, which is nice, but unfortunately it does not buff up our Ogre of the Black Shadow enough to actually beat over that man-eating treasure chest, so we'll set that and pass back to our opponent. They're going to hit in with the man-eating treasure chest, set another pass back to us. Trap Master, that's not bad. We're going to set that pass back to our opponent. They're going to bring out a Winged Dragon guarding the Fortress #1. And we're just going to fire just desserts now. I feel like maybe we should have actually waited on this and potentially sniped one of their traps in the damage step with Trap Master. But I was like, what are they going to do? This is the end. They don't have any way to deal with this. Like, how would they possibly deal with this? Unfortunately, they do actually have a very clever way of dealing with it. They've got 2-pronged attack. So they will be able to chain this to the Just Desserts, pop both their monsters, and also pop our monster as well. So we won't actually get to pop a trap here. So quite unfortunate. We could have potentially played around that. And now we don't necessarily have game unlocked. They've got like a trap hole. This is the end of the game. But we summon a demon, that's fine. We attack in, and we managed to pull it out despite misplaying with that Just Desserts. So what an intense way to end game 2. I mean, that was really fun, and Just Desserts is, I think, unique to Kaiba. So cool that we were able to win that way. Hopefully game 3 goes even better. Let's see how we do here. We're going to be going second as we did win game 2, and this is, oh, well, I mean, Ryukish Empowered is good, but we don't necessarily want to see all monsters, especially when they've only got 1,000 attack. Opponent's going to bring out a Great White pass back to us. I mean, I think we just do have to use the monsters that we got. Summon out Ryukish Empowered, crash into their Great White, pass back to them, and hope that our other monsters are good enough. Unfortunately, they have a Neo, which, oh, that's really bad for us. We take 1,700. We draw Blue Eyes, which is not useful here. We'll set a Unknown Warrior Fiend, which is the worst monster in our hand. They'll attack over it, pass back to us. We draw 2-pronged attack. We're not going to be able to stick 2 monsters on the field to use that, but we might as well set it anyways. We're going to set that Ryukishin. They're going to attack in with the Neo, pass back to us. We draw D-Spell. We set a Master and Expert, which is the next worst card in our hand. Set the D-Spell as a bluff because why not? Opponent's going to bring out a Mammoth Graveyard. They'll attack in with the Neo here, attack in with the Mammoth Graveyard. And then they're just going to set one pass back to us. We draw Hitotsume Giant. Now, we could potentially summon out Mystic Horseman, attack over the Mammoth Graveyard here. However, that is really risky into something like Reinforcements. And also, the Mystic Horseman will just die like the turn following. So I think I'm just going to keep playing defensive. Maybe this was a bit of a mistake, but I think it's fine to do, just in case. And they're going to hit in for 1,200 with that Mammoth Graveyard. We draw Reverse Trap, which is not the best for us right now, although we could potentially do a fun play with it later if we draw an Equip card. Our opponent's just going to attack in to the Ogre of the Black Shadow there. Attack in for another 12. Set another pass back to us. Serious Puppeteer won't quite do it here. We'll set that anyways, just to keep getting defensive. Our opponent's going to bring out a Curse of Dragon, and maybe this is a sign we should have actually attacked over the Mammoth Graveyard. They're going to fire a Last Will here. Oh, they had a Trap Hole in case we brought Mystic Horseman, so it wouldn't have mattered either way. But they're going to bring out this Mystic Clown, and I think that will be the end of the game, as no matter how they hit over this, we just lose the game here. So yeah, not much we could really do that game. That does show how bad this deck can be if you just break on all the terrible monsters. But I do think that these games were pretty fun to show off, and this wasn't the only game that we played with these decks. We actually played a game where we swapped, so I played Yugi, they played Kaiba. So let's dive into that now and see how that one goes. Okay, we've got our second game against Aratos. We're playing Yugi, they're playing Kaiba. Hopefully the Yugi games go a little bit better for us. So we do win the Rock Period. This is here, so we will be able to go first, which is very nice. We draw, oh wow, that's killer. Change of Heart is another reason why Yugi is so good. We're going to set this Beaver Warrior, set this Waboku, pass back to our opponent. And they're going to bring out a Tatsume Giant and attack in and take 300 off that Beaver Warrior. We feel very good about that. They're just going to set one pass back to us. We draw Doma, the Angel of Silence, which may seem pretty bad here, but it actually pairs decently well with the Change of Heart, because we can just use this as pseudo removal. So Not terrible. We'll bring out this Great White as the worst of the 1600 monsters in our hand. They've got a trap hole for that, and we'll just pass back to them, hoping that they don't have a way to actually get over Beaver Warrior. And it looks like they do not. Oh wow, we're just drawing killer cards here. We will summon the Dragon Zombie, switch the Beaver Warrior to attack. This does play in to reinforcements a bit, which would be unfortunate. But again, we've got the Change of Heart in hand, Dome of the Angel of Silence as well, so I feel fine just doing this, and it looks like they do not have the reinforcements there. They're going to summon out Uraby, though. That will be able to hit into our Beaver Warrior. Quite unfortunate. They'll pass back to us. Reverse Trap can be pretty good for later. We're going to bring out a Man-Eating Treasure Chest and just hit in. They're going to let that go through. So we will get in for a fair bit of damage here. And we'll set this Reverse Trap just in case. They're going to bring out a Battle Ox, which unfortunately does get over our monsters here. But if we fire Waboku now and Change of Heart next turn, that could just be the end of the game. And so that is indeed what we're going to do here. And yeah, we take control of their Battle Ox, try and attack in for everything. And that will indeed be the end of the game. The set was just a D-spell there. Yeah, it looks like they just had a bunch of bad monsters and a Flute Summoning Dragon. So Flute is really bad. I mean, I know it's iconic, but like the Flute Lord of D stuff is never going to come up in a game. So it makes Kaiba a little bit brickier than Yugi in my opinion. But we're going to go into game 2, and I felt really good with that. Yugi is clearly the superior deck, although this hand is a bit awkward. We got 2 tribute monsters. We do have a monster in hand as well. But yeah, Lost Will can help a little bit. We're going to bring out this Baron of the Fiend Sword, activate a Yami, which will buff up the Baron. They've got a Ultimate Offering here, which they will indeed use. And they're going to actually bring out this Judgment and attack. And that makes a lot of sense because this Trap Master here would actually pop their own Ultimate Offering if we hit into it. So they had to do that. We're just going to set this Reinforcements, pass back to our opponent here. If they attack in, well, I was going to say if they attack in, we got Reinforcements to buff up Baron over the Judgment. Unfortunately, that will no longer be the case as Sogen does pop our Yami and buff up the Judgment as well. So they'll hit in. We won't fire the Reinforcements now. We'll just take that 850, pass back. Oh, Dark Hole is not bad. Well, we'll keep the Dark Hole in hand. Maybe this was a bit of a mistake, but the reason I did this is I wanted to actually fire Dark Hole when we have something to follow up on it with. And also they commit another monster board, then Dark Hole will be a bit better there. But 2400 is a lot of damage to take, so maybe I did this wrong. We draw Sorcerer of the Doom, so we're going to Dark Hole that. Summon out Sorcerer and just attack in for 1450. Unfortunately, they do Ultimate Offering here. Set 1, we'll attack into that now. And they will pay another 5 to set another. And we're just going to attack into that. I mean, if it's something that lets Reinforcements get over it, then I feel pretty good about that. If not, I mean, it's kind of unfortunate, and it looks like it's a Gyaku Tenno Megami, so unfortunately we won't be able to hit over that even with Reinforcements. But if they switch it into attack and attack in, then we can fire Reinforcements now, and it worked out. So they take 150 here. Main 2, they do have a Fisher for the Sorcerer, which is kind of unfortunate, but we do draw another monster here, so I feel decent about that. We're going to attack in for 1300 here. And we could potentially set a bluff in main 2, but I don't want it to get dispelled, and they do know that we've gone through Reinforcements, so the only like live bluff would be something like Trap Hole. So yeah, I didn't really want to do that. They're just going to bring out a Dark Titan of Terror, crash into our monster here. We draw Boku, which is pretty decent. We'll set that, pass back to our opponent, and they're going to go for a Rogue Doll here, attack in for 1600. Quite unfortunate. And we draw Mammoth Graveyard, which is not going to do it. We're going to set that pass back to our opponent here. They're going to try hitting into our Mammoth Graveyard. We're going to think about this because we could let this go through and potentially just keep playing the stalling game. But if we will Boku this, then we have a monster to tribute, and we've got Last Will in hand as well, so we can go kind of all in here. So we are just going to do that. Fire the Waboku. Mammoth Graveyard will survive. And we're just going to tribute that off for a Curse of Dragon here. We're going to fire this Last Will as well, and then attack into their Rogue Doll. In case they had Reinforcements, we wanted to potentially have the option to go for a Defender instead here. But it looks like they didn't, so now we're going to fire Last Will in the battle phase, bring out a Celtic Guardian, buff it up to 1600 with their Sogen, and attack in. And now I'm feeling okay. If they've got like Dark Hole, that's pretty bad for us, and unfortunately they do. They're going to bring out Hitatsume Giant, equip that with a Invigoration here, and since it's Beast Warrior, it will gain from the Sogen as well, so that's 1800. Kind of rough. Ancient Elf will not help us here. We'll set this Stern Mystic. Maybe I should have set the Elf instead, as they have the same amount of defense, and Stern Mystic would have, enabled me to hit in for more. But it won't actually matter in the end because they do have another monster here. And yeah, their set was a deed spell, so I'm very glad I didn't set the Last Will earlier. But that'll be the end of game 2. So very intense game. Maybe if I'd played that a little bit differently and not gone all in, played around Dark Hole a little bit, it could have turned out a bit different. But I think overall it was fine. And yeah, so I'm happy with how that game went. But yeah, it's 1-1 going into game 3. Let's see if we can pull out the win here. And this is a pretty good start. Ultimate Offering is a crazy card here. We're going to set this Beaver Warrior because it worked out well game 1. And they're going to fire Inexperienced Spy, and they're going to get to see, they get to see one of the most powerful cards in our hand, the Feral Imp. I mean, that's just too insane. I mean, now they know our whole strategy. That's pretty bad. Now that actually is really bad. The Battle Ox there is quite unfortunate. They'll be able to hit into the Beaver Warrior. They'll pass back to us. We're going to fire this Ultimate Offering, bring up Feral Imp, which they do know about, so no point in holding it. And then we'll summon out the Summon Skull, hit into their Battle Lock. Maybe this is a little bit greedy, but I feel we've got Trap Hole, so that's pretty good in case they've got something else to summon out. We've got Summon Skull, we've got Ultimate Offering, so I feel fine about our current board state here. They've got Dark Hole, so that will clear that, but oh no. Oh no. Okay, Monster Reborn is really bad for us because Trap Hole cannot deal with that. And this is really bad. We do let the Ogre go through because, you know, we figure we want to save Trap Hole for after we've managed to clear the Summon Skull, which we likely will do through a Dark Hole or something. But maybe I should have actually held it. I don't know. It's tough to say. We're dropping really low with these attacks. We draw a Mating Treasure Chest, so we will just bring that out and crash with their Ogre here. So that was a pretty good top deck here. Next turn, we can potentially set with the Ultimate Offering, and I think I will indeed do that because we are running low enough where it actually will come up. So we'll set the Celtic Guardian. Two-pronged attack. Oh, wow, that would have been much better if we still had 2 monsters in hand, but unfortunately we do not. They dispel the two-pronged attack, and then they're just going to hit in to our Witty Phantom here. They're going to set 1 pass back to us. Curse of Dragon will not do it. Oh no, this is really bad. And they've got Ryukishin, and we do actually have to Trap Hole that Ryukishin, despite how bad that sounds. They're going to fire a Dark Energy on the Summon Skull just to drop us down to 100 life points. Oh, man, there are not many things that do it off the top because Curse of Dragon is kind of dead in hand. Waboku will buy us another turn, so we'll just set that. Pass back to them. They're going to bring a Terror the Terrible and just hit in here. I mean, if we draw Dark Hole at the top, that will be very nice. It's a 1 out of 39 chance. Can we do it? No. Diane is very funny, though. This will increase our life points by 1,000. Pass back to our opponent, but that is unfortunately the end of the game. And wow, that was just... I mean, our opponent had Dark Hole Monster Reborn in their hand, so not really much we could have done to prepare against that. It's a very unlikely combination in these decks, but I do think that we could have potentially played around it by just, you know, stalling for a little bit instead of committing to the Summon Skull. But you do what you have to in these games, and honestly, I mean, these games are not, like, too competitive. They're more just, like, fun, just back and forth matches with some very, like, fun decks, iconic decks. So I hope that you enjoyed these matches as much as I enjoyed playing them. Let me know down below what you thought of these games, whether you want to see more games like this in the future. I am planning on making these for like future subscriber milestones. So if you want to see more of these, definitely subscribe if you're not already. And also show your friends and maybe get them to subscribe as well. But I hope that you enjoyed this as always. And if you want to play any of the games in the formats that I show off, maybe find some people to do this sort of thing with yourself, then we do have a Discord server linked in the description down below. It's a great place to find games in any of the formats that I feature in these videos. But I hope that you enjoyed as always. And until next time, I've been Ben from YGO from Zero, and I'm signing off.